Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the primary weapon, the Quanta Vandal. And this is actually my second video I've done on the Quanta Vandal. I did one yesterday. However, after I put it up, one of our commenters gave me a suggestion to test out a pure electric build on it. Because I showcased two builds yesterday. I showcased a viral build, and then I showcased a gas electric build. And he said that the pure electric build would probably be better than my gas electric build. And after testing, he is correct. It was better. And so I wanted to make sure I had, the correct information up here. And so I decided to redo the video. And again, today we're going to showcase that viral build, and then we're also going to showcase the status build, which is going to be the pure electric. So that is a special thanks to KS NanoSquid. He is the one that came up with that suggestion there. So let's go over our commenter board before we start. Our first commenter of the last video was the Gurgen Schlurgen, and our top commenter of the last video was also the Gurgen Schlurgen and KS NanoSquid. And then we have our recent channel supporters here of Whoop-De-Wham, Nice Bear, and Colonel 06. Thank you so much for your support. Unique and interesting things about the Quanta Vandal is that it has innate electric, it also has innate blast on the alternate fire's radial attack, and it has a base multi-shot of 2 on the primary attack. The alternate fire fires a cube that explodes in a 6-meter radius on contact, when shot, or after 8 seconds. Now I did multiple kill per minute runs on the primary fire Quanta Vandal versus the alternate fire Quanta Vandal, and every time the primary fire won. And I believe it's because those little cubes that the alternate fire shoots out are just a little bit clunky. They come out slow, they don't shoot very far. To make them actually shoot out a little bit faster and go a little bit farther, you can use an Exilis mod that increases your velocity on that. However, the primary fire doesn't need that Exilis, and so you're really just using that for the alternate fire. And the issue with that is that the primary fire gets a huge amount of value out of Vigilante supplies because of its innate 2 multi-shot. And so you're going to be missing out on that really good Exilis mod for the primary fire because you're trying to make the alternate fire valid. And so our build today is going to be focusing on the primary fire mode. Just think of the alternate fire as it's something you can do like in between packs of enemies to throw some like little explosive mines out there, but it's not something you're going to be actively doing all the time with the Quanta Vandal, really. So yesterday we showcased 2 different builds. We showcased a viral build and we showcased a gas electric build. The viral build was very consistent across all enemy types. It felt very good versus trash, and it felt very good versus like Eximuses and Thraxes, whereas the gas and electric build was better than the viral build at trash killing, but was really slow at Eximus and Thrax killing. But like we said earlier, the pure electric build actually beats out the gas and electric build by a little bit in kill per minute on trash, but it's actually also pretty damn good at single target because it stacks like multiple hundreds of electric procs on like those big Thrax and Eximus enemies, and they will eventually just tick down and die. And so I still want to showcase the viral build here. I'm not going to go through it in detail just because the electric build kind of does both of those things. It does good single target and it does good trash killing. Whereas, yesterday we were showcasing both of them because one was a little bit better at single target and one was a little bit better at trash killing. So, this is the viral build if you want to copy it, but today we're going to focus a little bit more on this electric build here since it can kind of do both of those things. Okay, so now let's go over the mods. Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, Galvanized Scope for critical chance, Galvanized Aptitude for status chance and flat damage. I'm going to circle around back to this one when we're done talking about all the other mods, because there is a mod that's somewhat close to replacing this one here. Prime Shred for 55% fire rate and plus 2.2 punch through. Now Prime Shred is unfortunately a login reward, so if you don't have Prime Shred, you can use Vile Acceleration instead. And Vile Acceleration is actually a side grade to Prime Shred, so you don't have to feel bad about using Vile Acceleration. On single enemies, actually Vile Acceleration is going to be much better. It's just that Prime Shred has more potential damage if you're punching through enemies. So even if you have Prime Shred, you can actually make the decision to use Vile Acceleration instead if you want. Critical Delay for critical chance, Vital Sense for critical damage, Rifle Elementalist for plus 90% status damage and plus 0.6 punch through. That status damage is going to help our electricity ticks. And then we're going to have Serration for plus 165% damage. It's a little bit of a weird mod that you don't normally see on modern builds nowadays. Again, we'll circle back to this and aptitude at the end. Vigilante supplies is going to be a 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. This is very good on the Quanta Vandal because the Quanta Vandal has an above average multi-shot and it has a fast fire rate. So both of those things make Vigilante supplies an excellent candidate for the Quanta Vandal. And then in the arcane slot, we're also changing this from yesterday. We're using Primary Crux. Primary Crux it's going to give us ammo efficiency, which is nice, but we don't really need it. The big thing with Primary Crux is it's going to give us 300% status chance, which is what lets us get like hundreds and hundreds of electric procs on enemies. So let's circle around back to Galvanized Aptitude and Serration. Remember, we're switching our Arcane now to Crux for 300% status chance, but yesterday instead we had Deadhead here, which is 360% flat damage. Now you do need to have flat damage on your build somewhere for like everything else to kind of scale off of. And 165 from Serration alone is not that great. And Galvanized Aptitude is also not that great because if you notice, it's 80% flat damage per unique status on the enemy. This weapon only produces one status. So Galvanized Aptitude, it says a lot of stuff on this mod, but you can basically just translate it into plus 80% status chance and plus 80% flat damage. And that's an additive flat damage, not multiplicative. And so that 80 flat damage adds up with Serration to be 245. So like slightly stronger than a Hornet Strike on secondaries. So it's not a great amount of flat damage, but again, you do need flat damage somewhere on your build. Otherwise it's going to really hurt you. And I personally don't feel like we're good enough with just Serration. So I feel like we need to add Galvanized Aptitude. And the reason I'm making a big deal about this is because of another mod. Let me type this in here. Hammer Shot. It's extremely similar to Galvanized Aptitude. So again, Galvanized Aptitude has a lot on the mod, but you can basically just translate it into 80 status chance and then plus 80 flat damage. Well, what's Hammer Shot? Hammer Shot is 80 status chance and plus 60% critical damage. Well, normally I would take critical damage all day long over flat damage, but that's on a build that already has a lot of flat damage. This build is kind of hurting for flat damage. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but we're just rocking Serration for 165, which is not a lot. So I personally think in this weapon's case, I would go with that plus 80 flat damage over the plus 60 crit damage. Really makes me want to throw up saying that, but I think in this weapon's case, I would go with it, but it's questionable. I ran with both of these to see if I could tell a difference in the kill per minute values, and they were both about the same. So I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here. So you could probably switch around these as you like, but I'm personally going to be sticking with Galvanized Aptitude. This is how you build out the Quanta Vandal. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content. And again, a special thanks to KS NanoSquid, who helped suggest and guide us into that pure electric build rather than the gas electric. So thank you so much, NanoSquid. And now we'll have a 5-minute gameplay portion showcasing the weapon. I'm going to showcase it in its electric form that we came up with last night and this morning. And when that's done, we'll come back to the Orbiter and we'll give it its final score and ranking. So I'll see you guys again when we come back to the Orbiter. All right, I'm going to start this off here. I actually hacked it before we started. There we go. We're not using externals. Of course, if you were using externals, like adding Viral would be awesome. It'll make the build even better, but we're not going to show externals here. Just what's modded on the weapon. Now, this electric build, you actually want to kind of move off of your targets before they die, just because they'll eventually die anyway. And if you want to increase your kill per minute, you need to switch targets, because they'll just tick down and die, regardless. It's like this guy's got 150, I'll switch to the next guy, he's got like 150, next guy, and all those dudes will just tick down and die. If you try to maintain like on the same target until they die, you're going to lose DPS. Well, I guess you won't technically lose DPS, but you'll lose kill per minute. You know, a raw damage build, you're going to maintain your target and just shoot at him until he dies. But this one not so much. Spread it out. Spread the love. If it's an Eximus or a Thrax, you'll definitely want to like hold it on him longer, but Now the viral build that I showed earlier, I didn't go over it in detail. I just kind of showed it. It's still quite good, and it's very consistent. This one is more consistent than the gas electric build I showed yesterday, but I would say it's still not as consistent as a pure viral. It's just that the pure viral is not going to have as good of a kill per minute. And this one can be as good and better by just using external viral, but again, we're not using external, so. So this could be your be-all, end-all build for the Quanta Vandal. And definitely if you had external viral. Alrighty, we're 2.5 minutes in. We got another 2.5 left. So the 5 minute, I was doing a few different things. I was doing some 10-minute runs, some 5-minute runs. I was getting bored yesterday and this morning, so I was switching it up. I was doing a little bit different. And the 5-minute runs on gas electric yesterday were hitting about 400. About as in a little bit under 400 for some runs and a little bit over 400 for some runs for gas electric in 5 minutes. And the pure electric was hitting over 400 almost every time. Not much over 400, but always over 400. I didn't really have an under 400 5-minute run. And like I said, it's better against single target, whereas gas and electric was kind of doo-doo. We got the Acolyte here. This is still going to be bad against the Acolyte. None of the configurations were good against the Acolyte. Even the viral configuration is not good against the Acolyte. So this is just straight up not a weapon to use versus the Acolyte, really. Maybe we could shoot some of those little Quanta balls. Maybe these little Quanta balls will do some decent damage. Not really. Got like 6 of them and exploded them. Nothing. Yeah, this is just not an Acolyte killer, really. So we're just going to passively kill the Acolyte as we go through trash. Probably not. He's probably just going to beat on us for the next minute. We'll have Thraxes coming in about 30 seconds. See if we can get up to 400 kills in 5 minutes. Although I was kind of messing around, so maybe not. Maybe it'll be under 400 this time. All right. Yeah, 397 for 5. Let's get these Thraxes down, though. Weapon stolen, as is tradition, right at the worst time. All right, where are you at, Thraxes? Where are you at? You're up there. This is a beam weapon, but it's got a 50-meter beam range, so like you don't need to worry about the beam range, really. All right, I guess do we try to use this versus the Acolyte? I guess we'll show that it's not an Acolyte killer here. Never. Let's where are you at, Acolyte? Did you spawn behind me? I was trying to like go out in the away from these guys. So we do know that at 5 minutes I looked and we were at 397. So just under 400. I was messing around a little bit. You know, I was messing with the alternate fire versus the Acolyte, which I wouldn't normally do on a one of my test runs. So you can see it very, very bad against the Acolyte. This is not an Acolyte killer, you know, which is fine. You know, you can use like your melee in a normal gameplay. or like a secondary that's better at killing acolytes or something. And that's just because they can't stack statuses past 4. So you're not getting any value out of like the fact that you could produce thousands of electric procs because you can only do 4 of it on the acolyte. So, all right, that's 5 minutes, or actually past 5 minutes now. Let's go back to the Orbiter. Welcome back to the Orbiter, guys. So let's go over how the Quanta Vandal did in its 3 10-minute runs on Steel Path Lewis Circulus. And again, this is in its electric configuration. It got 801, 791, and 844 kills, putting it in the A tier for kill per minute potential. When it comes to single target damage, it's pretty good. I want to say it's kind of like right in the middle. I'm going to give it B tier for single target potential. It stacks a lot of electric procs. However, it does need a little bit of time for those electric procs to actually tick to kill those enemies. A lot of raw damage builds, like just straight viral and raw damage, will kill Eximus enemies quicker. However, there is something to be said where dot builds will eventually, sometimes, most of the time, beat out raw damage builds at like level cap. So at level cap, I could probably safely say this would beat out a raw damage build. But at starter steel path or mid steel path, I feel like just a plain old viral raw damage build is still going to kill like Eximuses and Thraxes quicker than the electric build that's like putting 1,000 electric procs on. So again, I think we'll just go right in the middle at B tier, but just remember that probably a bit better if you're doing level cap. Now, when it comes to ease of use, you are still wanting to get headshots. You're wanting to stack scope. You're wanting to aim in, and because of that, it's not super easy to use, but it's also not super hard to use. I would say, again, right in the middle at B tier for ease of use. So that's my take. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.